once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires we call the internets is Joe, Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
Oh, you owe me big time, you lazy putz. Tell the folks your sin against Kray and this here podcast. Confess! Well, confess!
That's one of the segments of the show, isn't it?
Yes.
We are supposed to record on Thursdays. So Thursday, and if you go to the Instagrams and the Facebooks, you'll see a picture of me looking pretty much... Joe, how would you describe my look yesterday?
Pathetic.
To the point where my mother put a note that says, I'm very worried about you.
Yes, the Facebook group Worrying About Cory officially disbanded because we ran out of worry is what the problem is. Despite our worrisomeness, Cory continues down the path of self-destruction. And the sad part is, folks, if he does implode into a miniature black hole, I don't have the keys to this here podcast, so I won't even be able to jump on and tell you, game over, people. Fun while it lasted.
Well, I've sent you the email like 7 or 8 times, but I know that's a waste of time. I was so exhausted.
Who uses email anymore?
Me. So
that's only because you don't like licking stamps.
Damn right. And you have to go to the post office and buy them. They don't sell them at the ATMs anymore. What's up with that?
What's up with that?
So I got home yesterday pretty exhausted, and we were supposed to record. And normally I get something to eat, and then I record. Because unlike my co-host, I don't eat on the air.
You're confusing me with someone who cares, but go ahead.
So I put some chili that I'd made in the microwave. By the way, Joe, the chili, there were people at work, because I made it for a potluck, and the people at work were like, wow, now that we know you cook, we're going to have you cook for us more often. And I, of course, said, why? Are you trying to get rid of me?
Please clap.
Jeb Bush got the joke.
Yeah, well, it's good to see he's around.
So I put the chili in the microwave, and I set it for 2 minutes. And I went and I sat down, and I turned on The Daily Show. And, it's a commercial. And I'll rest my eyes. My eyes are really tired. Next thing I know, my phone is going meh, 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 with the alarm that says that basically I have to get off my ass and go to work.
In the meantime, stupid old Kray, me, actually did my frickin' homework. Cory sits there and he says, oh, yeah, you don't do anything, blah, blah, blah. So this time I thought I'd surprise him. And I said, okay, you know what? I did my homework. I prepared for things. Last week he was telling me, yup, going to go see Spider-Man over the weekend, talk about it next podcast. And I'm like, I'm busy. There's no way I can see it. But I was able, through the perseverance of my wife, to actually see Spider-Man. And I loved it. And I thought, oh, good, now we can talk about Spider-Man. But did Cory go see Spider-Man?
No.
So, hours beforehand, I'm sitting here, okay, got all the stuff I read, all the stuff I dislike. I got a big freaking and geeking, so I'm not just like, yeah, I'm not freaking, not geeking, not nothing. I did my homework, and I'm all ready to talk about it. Skype is loaded up, so I, sit back and wait. I have this thing called the presidential wait. Started it in college with a buddy of mine. I have no idea who came up with it. Basically, if I'm waiting for you and you're not there by 30 minutes, I'm leaving. And we did that mostly so that way if I was going to catch a ride with you or you were going to catch a ride with me and you were running late, you knew after 30 minutes I was going and to make other plans. So 30 minutes later, I was like, well, I'll leave Skype on, but then I went back to what I've been doing the past few months, just digging around with my comic collection. Although I did get a good call from my old buddy Pat Gruber, so we talked a little bit. But other than that, yeah, so, and then, of course, I get the, apologetic thing at 9:30. Oh, I fell asleep.
So here's what the show would have been if we would have recorded yesterday.
Which would have been exactly what we're doing now.
No. Here's what the show would have been, Joe. You ready?
Sure. See, folks, I told you he sleeps like a baby. Now, if you listen carefully, you can hear his snot whistle. That's because of the new dental work he finally can afford.
So we're recording on Friday.
And you know what I have to do? You know what I was planning to do tonight?
Masturbate?
Well, not really, because everybody's home tonight. Well, except my wife. She went out to Rick Springfield, so I had all these Rick Springfield jokes ready to go. And what did she decide to do tonight? Well, they went back to Mystic Lake and they're seeing another band. I don't know what's going on. Either way, I'm home alone.
So you can masturbate?
No, just not in the mood.
Oh, I'm always in the mood for that.
No, and obviously not last night you weren't.
Well, no, I just didn't have time.
Maybe
that's why I went to sleep.
Uh-huh. We
got to earn that explicit tag somehow.
They usually say, guys want to go to sleep afterwards, so, hey. So I'm telling you, I just ain't going to do no homework no more. I'm just going to show up to this here podcast and just Jerry Lawler it in.
Why should now be any different?
Because when I do homework, then Cory's like, disturbance in the forest, time to sleep.
Although they promised us at the group home we were going to be getting a bonus check this week. Did we get it? No.
Nope. They did bone you, see? So you got a bone.
Got a bone, no bone us.
Yep, they're the type of people that would give a starving dog a rubber bone.
So what else did you do this week, Kray?
Well, a lot of what I've been doing is, I've been talking about trying to get my collection ready for Fall Comic-Con, which, of course, will be October 7th, and at the Minnesota State Fair Education Building. Tickets and all the fun stuff goes on sale September 1st at mcbacomiccons.com.
So we all need to get educated.
We do. Some a little more than others, but, it's all good. So I've actually gotten through the bulk of my collection in terms of things that I'm like, I don't know if I want them or not. And you know how I complain about, okay, how the hell did I buy issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10? Well, I found a box that had all the missing issues for all the different runs that I've been missing. Not that it matters. None of them I really want to keep. But, so it's just a matter of wading through stuff. Now I'm actually into what Pat called the keeper. It's like round one was easy. I just go through, keep it, get ready to dollar it, whatever. Now I'm going through the runs where I'm like, do I want to keep this or not? I mean, case in point, I was talking, I think, last podcast, there's that run that John Byrne did of Namer. Has not been reprinted or is even in a trade paperback anywhere. It's a pretty solid run. I actually enjoyed reading it. I started rereading it. I'm like, do I want to? I mean, there's no value to them, really. They're like $1 a pop. Do I want to keep them? Do I want to get rid of them? Then I got the Roots of the Swamp Thing. Cory, tell us about the Roots of the Swamp Thing.
That's the Len Wein, Bernie Wrightson series.
Yep.
In reprint form.
Yeah, let's see, what was the date on this baby? 1986. And I know I don't have them. I think I saw an Absolute or an Omnibus or something.
There's an Omnibus coming.
Yeah, I didn't order it because I've got this. And I'm like, do I want the Omnibus or do I want this? So just even as you left, or I should say just as I was waiting, just in case Cory decided to take another nap today. He's getting old, folks. I was going through my, let's see if I can get the extension cord to go all the way over.
I've been old for 25 years.
Left over right, give it a twist. Okay. I was going through my Superman family collection because, as you know, that was one of the infamous runs that I started collecting. The first one I remember was Superman Family 185, that was the one where I had a choice. I could have one comic. I could pick out the Kiss Super Special, or I could pick out Superman Family. And my mom kind of pushed me in the Superman Family because it was $1, whereas the Kiss Super Special, she didn't like Kiss either. Was what was that, like a $2.99 book at the time? I don't remember.
No, it was $1.50.
$1.50. So, and I bought this one because it had Superdog in it. And what I loved about the Superman Family is that they actually, until they got later on in the runs, you never quite knew what they would come up with. The main characters, of course, was Jimmy Olsen, who was actually more of an adventure star. He was actually a very interesting read in the Superman Family.
He was Action Lad.
Action Lad. There was Lois Lane, who actually acted like a reporter. They had, who are the two Kandorians at
Nightwing and Flamebird.
Flamebird? Yeah.
Nightwing and Flamebird. That's where Nightwing got his names in pre-Crisis as a tribute to Superman.
And what was interesting about this is that here's what I'm learning about when Superman and Jimmy Olsen would go to Kandor. They would sometimes disguise themselves as these guys as they were fighting crime. And two guys decided to take up that mantle and do it. Supergirl was in it. Krypto was in it. That was the big thing. I love it. For some reason, I have a softness for Krypto, the Superdog. And, of course, the big thing about these comics, like I said, they were the dollar comics. Cory, what was the first Superman Family dollar comic?
It was the last issue of Jimmy Olsen, so it had to be like in the 160s, because Superman Family, actually the first few issues were Jimmy Olsen in Superman Family, so 160-something, wasn't it?
164 was the first Superman Family, and it was, like you said, Jimmy Olsen presents the Superman Family, and it was always one original story and a bunch of reprints, which was fun because that's how you learned, or at least I learned about some of the different things in the past Golden Age, Silver Age. The first dollar comic, where what they did is they were, let's see, I've got them here, Superman 164. So they were those 100-page giants, which I really love collecting, even in bad shape. 169 was the last of that. Then it dropped to 50 cents. Giant size, and that went on from 170. Let's see. They dropped the giant size at 178. They had 2 issues that were 50 cents. And they just called it like Superman Family Giant. And then at 182 is when they started the dollar comics, the big blockbuster, as it says all over it.
That was a huge idea from Jeanette Kahn. If you look, she is listed as publisher. She liked the dollar comics because it would get newsstand dealers could get more money per square inch. And a lot of the complaints were that comics were too cheap compared to magazines that they could put up and make more money per square inch. So her idea was the dollar comics, and she thought that the dollar comics, because they made more profit for wherever they were sold, they would get better distribution. It didn't really work out that way, but I do like the dollar comics in that it was all new stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe have a reprint or two, but for the most part, it was all new.
And we talked about Time Warp. I remember GI Combat. Was there All Out War? I picked up all the dollar comics. It was just a lot of fun. And for the most part, I'm just going to flip all the way to the end of the collection here. They kept Superman Family going as dollar comics. The last one I have is...
Still the last issue, I believe.
221, I believe. Again, I'm trying to put 221 looks like the last issue. And, some of the early ones were actually a lot of fun. Like the 187 had an interesting concept where the villain was at Earth 2, defeated the Golden Age Superman, came to Earth 1, defeated the Golden Age our Superman, Earth 1 Superman. The two Supermen had to combine into a giant Superman in order to defeat this villain. And I don't know who it is because I'm not going to open up and take a peek. And it was interesting because they had to coordinate their thought processes and be able to fight as a cohesive unit, because I know The Golden Age Supermans were worried about Lois, and he keep focus, and there was always a, you really ought to just marry Lois. It worked out fine for me, blah, blah, blah. Just fun stuff. And of course, that's how I think, I always talk about how did I become aware of like Earth 1, Earth 2. This was probably the earliest thing I had that I started to realize, yeah, that's how they did it. That's why Superman has been around for 50, 60 years. Some of the other issues were interesting. 190 was fun because it was kind of a crossover for everybody, where it was one gigantic story where they took the Kandorans off the Earth and threw them in a cosmic zoo. And it took the combined might of Superman, Supergirl, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, Nightwing, Flameberg, and Krypto to get themselves out. And it was fantastic. For $1, you got like a whole story out of it. There were other things we talked about, like the private life of Clark Kent. They had one where I think Clark's cousin came and they were talking. I forget how he was talking. Clark Kent was just talking about I don't really see a lot of the family. They're a little bit more rich than I am. It had to do something with money because Clark's thinking I could mine the treasures of the oceans. I could press, coal into diamonds. I'm quite content on Clark Kent's salary. I really don't need it. Towards the end of that's what it was. It was like some will. That's why they were all together. And towards the end, when it became apparent that, they were going to get a huge amount of money, Clark convinced the cousin to, why don't you make a foundation? And, the Wayne Foundation does fabulous things for charity because Clark Kent wanted nothing to do with it. If he got tied into the foundation, it would take up, more of his free time that obviously he was using as Spider-Man. Anyways, that's just the first run of books. I mean, the other things I've run into, I've the Adventure series where Supergirl was in it. I've got a complete run of the Darling Adventures of Supergirl. That was the last one they did before the Daring, Darling, either way.
Not Darling.
She was a darling. And the original Supergirl series, which only ran 10 issues, and you gotta love it when you've got the Maid of Steel who can bend steel in her hands and change the course of mighty rivers, more powerful than a locomotive, Apolite, capital T in a single bound, and she's crying on a carpet because she can't have a date. Gotta love these early Supergirl comics.
You gotta love DC's sexism in the 70s.
Oh, gotcha. There's other runs I'll be getting into, and I'm sure I'll be waxing poetic as I have it. But that was just kind of fun, going through some of the old comics. And I pulled out the old... it's the last time the Comic Buyer's Guide did it. I used to love it. It was called a Checklist and Price Guide. In this case, it was 2010, their 16th edition. And from 1961 to present, they have a checklist and a checkbox for every single comic in that era. And they also had a supersized book that does all the Golden Age books. And for me, trying to keep my collection in shape, I had one from like 2007 that was half full, and then I picked up to 2010. And then, of course, they stopped publishing Comic Buyer's Guide because I'd love to get a current one. Although, a lot of people have been telling me there's like online things you can use and stuff. I don't know. What do you do, Cory, to keep your collection?
I used to have a database, but I just kind of decided that I'm not going to worry about it anymore. With back issues, it's like, I don't remember if I have that or not. I'll just, I'll buy a set or something for something I want to read.
Well, yeah, if it's cheap enough, who cares?
Yeah. And for trade paperbacks and hardcovers, I know what omnibuses I have. I don't have that many yet. And for the other ones, if I notice I'm missing something, or, during an era when I couldn't afford to buy all the trade paperbacks I wanted, I put it into an app called Remember the Milk, where you could create all these lists. And I have one list that, here's what I need for the grocery, and here's another, here's the, bunch of stuff that I need to do for the podcast. It's where I keep all my to-do lists. And one of them is, here are the essentials I need. Here are the omnibuses that I'm looking for. Here are the masterworks I'm looking for. I did have where are the archives I'm looking for, but I've got all the archives I want. DC's not making anymore because they hate me.
Snuts.
And things like that. So
I did see a...
I can also, with that app, move it into another app called Evernote, which is a much more detailed app where I keep all of my things that I need to do. Everything from the weekly tasks to, mop the floor, make sure the laundry's done, buy groceries.
Stay awake to do a podcast.
To,
Clean
here's what I need. Here's what I need in my go bag. I have a hospital go bag and I have a work go bag.
Need some more Lysol.
No, I've always got enough Lysol.
She's being too friendly. I better go. She's being too friendly. I better go clean her apartment. There is some guy.
That joke never gets old.
Never gets old, people.
We're gonna beat that joke to death.
There's somebody recommended something called collectors.com. collectorz.com, and what they do is you can actually have an app where you scan in the UPC codes, and then boom, it puts it in your collection. And if you happen, like me, to have things that never had a UPC code, you can put in name and title and who did it. And, like usual, they're offering I forget what it is. It's either a monthly thing or a one-time fee. And once I get all this stuff settled, I may actually do something like that. Because the one thing I want to do before FallCon, I may not, is like you did, get all my essentials out. Because I have no clue which ones I have. And there's runs like we were talking before about Defenders, where I know I have, I think all but the last 30 are in the essential format. So if I want to keep a complete run of Defenders, I've got all the essentials. I also have the Avenger Defender War somewhere, and then just keep the last 30, and then I can blow out the other ones. But I have no idea what I have yet because they're actually on the in comic boxes packed away while I'm busy dealing with all the other comics I'm trying to wade my way through. Such fun, Escalade. And my wife looks at me like, I don't get it. I don't understand this collecting thing. I'm of the conclusion that you are either a collector or you're not. And in this case, I'm a reader because I got just books I've read that I never want to read again, and I've got ones that I want to read, and as long as I have it in some type of format, including things like Marvel Unlimited, I is content.
I just want to make sure that I'm not buying the same shit over and over.
Yeah.
There are times when you go, I don't know if I have that or not. And because I've pretty much completely transitioned to trades and digital's easy. All I have to do is open Comixology, and it's like, oh, okay, there they are. Or with Marvel, it's like, oh, okay, it's on there. But with trades, I keep track of stuff because there are some series that I'm buying in trades, and some series where a trade comes out and then they don't do another issue for months. I'm looking at you, Amy Reeder, and your stuff, and you just have to keep track. Oh yeah, it's been a year, and now she's putting out the second trade.
Oh, she's starting Rocket Girl up again. I saw that in the image.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
I kind of gave up.
I loved Rocket Girl.
And there's even things too, and this kind of transitions into what our topic was going to be.
We have a topic?
Well, we were going to talk about previews.
We're going to talk?
Well, that's what you told me to do. You said we're going to talk about previews. So I actually
yeah, that's right.
took out my previews, and usually I do it like when I get the note from Discount Comics, oh, your order's due today. Oh, shit. And so I was going to, I actually went through and I looked at things that I want, and, we're talking the July 2017 catalog of previews.
Yes.
There's
almost the year is half over.
Well, I swear my order this month is half what it was the previous months.
Yeah, this was not a good month for stuff coming out, and as I was looking through, Marvel's going to start their their, what do they call it? The Legacy.
Legacy, yeah.
With the Legacy #1 and then the Generations one-shots. But this is supposed to be when DC puts out their big stuff for September, because the last few years, that's when they've done, the lenticular covers and the villains take over. And DC just looks like, it's just another regular month.
I was really kind of...
They're not doing a lot for September.
And this whole Legacy...
That kind of, if I were a comic shop, I'd be pissed.
Even the Legacy thing doesn't really got me that excited. They did kind of it was really a lackluster ad in the Marvel previews thing. It's like Marvel Legacy 1. Here are the 5,000 variant covers. Everything starts here. It's everything you've been longing for. Well, not really.
Well, we don't know yet because they haven't announced what's coming out of it, which San Diego is coming soon. So now there are rumors flying that Marvel's not going to do the big announcement stuff at the San Diego Com, and instead we'll be doing D23, I think it's called, the big Disney fan thing, where every year Disney has a big thing and announces everything coming out for a year, and instead of making their big announcements at San Diego, where they'll get lost at all the movie hype, they're going to do it at the big Disney thing. And also at the big Disney thing, that's where they announce who gets added to Disney Legends. Jack Kirby is going to be announced as a Disney legend.
What would he would have thought of that?
He would think it's kind of weird because he only did one thing for Disney, and that was the Black Hole comic strip.
Mm. Well, getting back to this Legacy thing, are you getting it?
Oh yeah, because it'll be on my app.
I'm not. I don't know. The only thing I found was interesting in the whole week in the Generations when they had the Miles Morales Spider-Man and Peter Parker Spider-Man #1 shot, and the only reason I thought it was interesting is because Brian Michael Bendis is writing it. Other than that, everything else, I'm looking at it like Secret Empires. I don't care. You're not getting me excited with any of this.
Although, you want to know why I'm excited about Legacy #1?
I'm hoping you can tell me, because from the previews, there's no meat here. There's nothing to talk about.
Written by Jason Aaron, the guy who's doing Thor, and drawn by Esad Ribic, who drew Secret Wars. So it's going to be a well-told story that's going to look beautiful. And if they're going to put all this attention into it, it's going to be a lot like the DC Rebirth special, which, let's face it, if Rebirth hadn't worked, Marvel wouldn't be doing Legacy.
But I can't tell you the number of books I have going into my dollar bins that, here is all the one-shots and wonderful series coming out of this event. And they give you like a little teaser, follow the story into this book and that book. And none of those books exist anymore. I should have just piled up all these things and said, okay, here's what came out of Secret Invasion. This book, this book, this book, and they're gone. Here's what came out of Millennium. This book, this book, this book, this book, gone. Nobody cares.
What was the DC thing that started their big run that went through everything for a few years? The, what was it, not Countdown to
Final Crisis.
No, it was the one where at the end of the book, Max Lord killed the Blue Beetle.
I don't remember. I've been reading bits and things.
But you remember that story,
right? Not really.
See, I went back and read it recently, and not only is it really good, but it set up that whole run of DC stuff that we like. That it led into Infinite Crisis in 52 and all of that. When it's done right, it can get you hyped. When it's not done right, it's, Countdown to Final Crisis. DC Rebirth, we went into it very, very skeptical because it's like, oh God, they're doing it again. We even did a special show on how we were annoyed by it. But the issue itself was good, even though I still don't like the fact that Watchmen's going to be part of the DC universe. The story itself was good. So, I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm going to buy it, see what what Marvel's going to do. But as I looked through previews, I was not excited, although there are a few things that got me really hyped.
Well, let's talk about those.
In Dark Horse, there's a book here that you probably just skimmed right by because their ad for it was terrible.
That's part of it.
Best Wishes trade paperback, written by Mike Richardson, drawn by Paul Chadwick. It's the first Paul Chadwick art in almost a decade. Paul Chadwick, the writer-artist of Concrete. I like Paul Chadwick. I like the fact that he's going to do some comic books. I don't like the fact that it's going to be an original trade paperback, although 160 pages for $20 is pretty good. And, Mike Richardson's not the greatest comic writer. He kind of gets to write stuff for Dark Horse because he's one of the owners. But...
nepotism.
Yes. But it's Paul Chadwick, and I'll always buy stuff by Paul Chadwick. Concrete's one of the greatest comics ever published.
It's funny because in my first run through previews, I saw that and I was kind of like, eh. And now that I realize just how little I'm buying, I may go back and actually pick that up. Because there were a couple things like that. Even Forward in DC, they're doing a paperback, or is it paperback or hardcover? Let's see if I can find it. The Demon by Jack Kirby.
Yeah, I've got the hardcover, so I don't need the paperback. But if you don't have the hardcover, this is the entire run. It's 384 pages for $40, which is weird because the hardcover was like $40 a few years ago.
They're saying here 30, so it's $10 cheaper to get the paperback.
Oh, okay.
So save $10.
But
that was one that I might pick up. I pretty much have not picked up any of the Kirby reprints just because of budgetary reasons. When they have a month that comes out with 3 omnibus or absolutes, and then here's a bunch of Kirby stuff. I'm like, oh. And on the other hand, it may be a way to pick it up later. Or not.
So trade paperbacks stay in print for a while at least. They don't blow out immediately like the omnibuses do. And on the other pages of Batgirl Bronze Age Omnibus, if I didn't already have this as a showcase, I would have bought it because I like Batgirl. But I don't like her enough to buy it again for $100 when I bought the first one for $17. And a lot of the Batgirl stories in the 70s were just goofy.
Yeah.
Just damn goofy.
Kind of the Bat counterpart of Supergirl.
But with DC, if you flip back a few pages, Joe, on page 135, you see the DC Rebirth, the deluxe editions. I bought the Batman one last time. I'm not interested in either of these, but I like the fact that they're going to be doing these deluxe books, which are, about 400 pages for $35 hardcover. They reprint about 15 to 17 issues. I like that format. It's a nice, solid format, and I'll be doing it for the books I like the Tom King Batman book.
Yeah, there was nothing other than the one I mentioned that kind of caught my eye.
There was something here that jumped out at me. One of the regular series.
New or old?
Well, there's Wonder Woman Conan that we talked about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Dastardly and Muttley looks really weird.
Are you following Metal?
I'm going to wait and hear about it. Because it's another one where it's, we're spinning off a whole new line of books. And then DC announced that they're going to have a mature readers line of books. So that means that DC's going to have the regular DC universe, DC Metal, this new mature readers line, Vertigo, Young Animals. How many lines are they going to have? And, Vertigo's only got 2 books this month. So Vertigo's probably dead.
Yeah, they might be. I mean, I noticed the Sebastian O Mystery Play Deluxe Edition come out.
And I've already got all that.
I don't know if I have Mystery Play.
That was a hardcover, so a lot of people didn't buy it. But,
yeah, so that might, again, with such a slow month, that may be something I might pick up.
But no, DC didn't have anything that jumped out at me. They still haven't put out the Dark Knight 3 collected edition yet, which I think is a little weird.
Well, I did get the slipcase edition, so I put those all together. That actually looks pretty cool. I may stick with that.
And then, who was next? IDW.
The only things I'm getting from IDW right now is Time and Vine, because that's the creator of doing it is the same guy who did Love and Capes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's done a couple. We were talking about romance comics off and on, and he's done a couple of them. The last book he did was Tom Zahler. That's the name. He did one, Long Distance, where it was a 4-issue series dealing with how this couple met. And
oh, yeah. Yeah,
and
I remember
this
that.
is another one, Time and Vine. I believe it's 4 issues. Megan continues her search for her mother's mystery sister. Her mother's mystery sister. Okay, I got that right. A trip that takes her back into the 80s again. So, and again, we've talked about creators that whatever they do, I'll follow.
On the next page is one that I will buy. Starstruck, Old Soldiers Never Die by Elaine Lee and Michael Kaluta. This is a continuation of a series they did at Epic in the 80s. It's Michael Kaluta. It's Michael Kaluta. Yeah, Michael Kaluta could draw. Times I went to the bathroom and I'd still buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's Michael Kaluta. I mean, he's one of these guys
Michael Kaluta.
He's mostly known for a very short run he did in the 70s on The Shadow. And then he's come in and out of comics. When he comes back, when he left comics, he was one of these guys who was red hot. Anything they would have put him on, it would have sold through the roof. But he just kind of left comics and did posters and other stuff. And by the time he came back, most of his fans had moved on in life. So the first Starstruck series didn't do all that well. And then he did the Shadow graphic novel with Denny O'Neil, that one hardcover one that Marvel published. It's the only thing they published of the Shadow. And then all of a sudden the Shadow's back at DC again. So it's like, the hell happened there? Denny O'Neil was even working for DC at the time, so I don't even know what that. But yeah, he's one of those artists who he puts something out, I'll buy it. But well, there are a few artists like that. Art Adams. If Art Adams were to draw a comic, I'd buy that.
Well, I have it on good authority from the Crazy comic series that when he does artwork, he just throws it into his closet so no one ever sees it.
That's true.
Very true.
If you've got a lot of money to spend, on page 185, they are resoliciting all of the EC Artist editions, which, if I were independently wealthy, I would have. I have seen the Mad, and it's at the same size as the art, which is bigger. It's like almost 4 feet tall. It's the size of a toddler. Because Harvey Kurtzman demanded that his artists draw that big so that they could work in the detail. The other one, the Jack Davis's EC Stories Artist Edition. Oh my God, do I want that! Because I would imagine that Jack Davis's stuff, he just would like take ink and just throw it on the page.
Then it would go where he needs it.
Yes.
He was
and
that
Graham
good.
Ingalls' stuff was that good too. And that's it for IDW for me, because boy, they are just swimming in the licensed books.
Mm-hmm.
New Star Wars for Kids book.
I wondered about that because, you'd think that if they're going to do a kids book, that Marvel would publish it, being that Disney owns everything there. But
they publish the Disney kids books.
And of course, it all comes down to licensing. You know, if the IDW is publishing it, that's money from outside the company coming to them. Whereas the other way around, it's just that would be Marvel giving Disney money, which they do anyways. So, and I'm sure if Marvel really wanted to do it, they would say, "Hey, we can do it."
I wonder if it's a distribution thing, because Marvel put out that Spider-Man Digest through Archie.
Yeah,
because Archie has the distribution.
Yeah, Marvel did shut down their newsstand distribution. You know, why you don't see their comics at Barnes & Noble or anything.
And IDW publishes, like My Little Pony, very successful with that. The Disney books seem to be pretty successful because they're still pumping those out. They're making money somehow. I don't know how, but they're making money. At Image, the new Kingsman series.
That I will wait for a trade. And they are actually doing it. They're republishing the Kingsman, the Secret Service trade. So if you miss it the first time around...
When it was published by Marvel.
Yep, definitely pick it up. But for this one, I will definitely be waiting for the trade.
There was one book I was going to get till I saw the price and went, no, that's just stupid.
Which?
Walking Dead Here's Negan hardcover, which reprints the story from Image Plus. Because remember, the first couple issues of Image Plus were free. And it had, you know, here's part of this story, and here's previews and interviews and everything. And I thought it was a great idea. And then they started charging $2 for it. It's like, I'm not paying $2 for a promo. I mean, I'm sorry, that's stupid. It's just stupid. Hey, by the way, do you want to know about our books that are coming up? Sure, gonna cost you.
Gonna cost you.
But the hardcover is $20 and it's 72 pages. That's a double-sized comic for $20. I'm stupid, but I ain't that stupid. But, yeah, we get Mage number 2.
Woohoo! Again, waiting for the trade. It's going to be a long, lonely wait, but I'm waiting for it.
No, it'll only be 15 months. It's coming out monthly.
I am down to 4 books from Image. And let's see if I can find it. The first one is Crosswind. And I think they're on their 4th issue. And the first issue just came, and I haven't got a chance to read it. But when I do, I will definitely let everybody know about it. Gail Simone, Kat Staggs doing the art. So I pick up Ringside, which is kind of a gritty type book about an old over-the-hill wrestler getting involved in the business again. Savage Dragon, of course, I absolutely love. I haven't gotten my Savage Dragon collection in order yet, but I'll definitely pick that up. And Youngblood 6. I've actually enjoyed Youngblood up till now. I don't know if I'm going to continue it. And, of course, there on page 228 is Rocket Girl number 9.
Yes.
The final countdown.
I would like to recommend Motor Crush as a trade paperback when it comes out, because issue 6 is the first of a new story arc, which means the first trade paperback's out. Now, the reason I'm recommending Motor Crush, Joe, do you remember when we reviewed The Batgirl by Babs Tarr and Cameron Stewart?
Yep.
Motor Crush is by Babs Tarr and Cameron Stewart, so you know it's going to be good. And Kill or Be Killed. Always got to buy me my Kill or Be Killed, because it's Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Ooh, there's a team, man. Other Image books that I buy in trade paperback, like the Jonathan Hickman stuff. Every so often it's like, oh yeah, I need to pick up the Jonathan Hickman East of West. Oh, there's the next 3 trades. Boom, boom, boom. Or Saga, same thing. I just buy that as a trade when the trades come A little shocked when I went to the Everything Else. Joe, take a look at the first book on page 252.
Aardvark Comics #1?
Yes, Dave Sim is doing regular comics again. But I don't believe he's drawing it, because last I heard, he can't draw.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's his eyes or his hands. He can't draw anymore. That's why Cerebus in Hell was kind of Cerebus cutouts on classic art. It's hard, we have to remember, hey, Dave Sim did comics from 1977 to 2004, so he's not a young lad anymore. Not an angry young man anymore.
Nope. I notice even Archie's output this month is weird. Just one Archie book, of the shared universe, whereas last month it was Archie, Josie and the Pussycats, Classic Sabrina, Classic Archie #2, and then this month, just Archie.
With Archie, trade paperbacks and digests. So let me see. I only buy the big digests because you get more bang for your buck. So
and they don't fall down the crapper that easy.
That's true. So it would be the jumbo comics are the ones that I get. Archie Jumbo Comics Digest 282. 256 pages, which is what used to be a double digest, but now the double digests are 160 pages. And the regular digests are 256 pages. No, there are two jumbo digests, I'm sorry. The double digests are 160 pages, which means that the regular digests that don't come out anymore would have been 80 pages. It was rebranding. Wait, there's Archie, there's Reggie and Me, and Riverdale. Jeez.
Oh, Reggie and Me is a trade. See, I thought so. I bought the comics myself.
By the way, if you want something stupid, Antarctic Press, they're the ones who put out all the Sarah Palin's stupid comics about 8 years ago. Now they're putting out President Pence, where Mike Pence is dressed like Shazam, and
Yep. You're not picking up the Carlton Arrow from AC Comics?
Yes, I am.
I figured you would.
We talked a little about that. That is actually the online stuff that they've been printing. They're going to try it as a print book. So I'm gonna buy that. Going to give it a try. I don't know why they want to save the Carlton name, man. Joe, maybe you can explain it to me. When I think Carlton Comics, I think crap on cheap paper. And it's where Ditko went when he didn't want to deal with anything. Now, in the 70s, they had a lot of Tom Sutton art. He must also have not wanted to deal with the people at Marvel or DC, or maybe he wasn't welcome there anymore for some reason. But Carlton was all, they used the same printing press as breakfast cereal boxes. And their books all looked terrible. And even, even people who worked at comics, Kirby used to say, if you end up at Carlton, you got to remember they're owned by the mob. Carlton's where you ended up. It's not where you went. Kind of like a friend I used to have. They were the kind of person you ended up with, not someone you sought out.
I'm trying to look and see if there's anything else.
There's people who are looking to use that name, and God bless them. They're a bunch of decent comic creators, and Roger McKenzie and Mort Todd and people like that. So
the only other things that I'm looking to get from Knockabout, 50 Freaky Years of Freak Brothers.
Now, does that have anything new from the two Freaky Freak Brothers collections, Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers collections they already have published?
I think it sounds like they're printing like smaller strips that may not have been in the big two books.
Okay.
And allow me to get to the letter K here. Let's see. What are they talking? Blah, blah, blah. Souvenir extravaganza contains brand new strips.
Oh, okay.
Like Venus becomes a suicide bomber. Franklin got his gun. In fact, Freddy gets religion. And more Freak Brothers short strips. An up-to-date interview with Shelton. And a gallery of Freak Brother parody strips by Robert Crumb, Hunt Emerson, and more. So
64 pages for $12.95.
Yeah, they're high. But I'm going to get it anyways.
And I keep saying, man, you got to start reprinting those underground books in trade paperbacks. Just, here's a bunch of stuff from Spain. Here's a bunch of stuff from Jack Jackson. A lot of the Crumb stuff isn't available anymore. Fantagraphics has let the complete Crumb go out of print.
Those bastards.
And the printing of Zap is like, what, $600?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
I will point out in Oni Press, Oni? Kjumak Season 3, Number 3 by Xander Cannon. Love this book. It will come out in a trade if you're so inclined to do that, but I told Xander last time I saw him at the con, said, I am always going to buy the book. It's fun, it's good reading, it's got a decent letter strip in the back, there's all sorts of details going on, and this is just fantastic. It's almost. What would you think? It's almost like take all the Godzilla monsters and throw them in
prison.
Put it in Oz. Yes. So just absolutely fun stuff. He's getting good reviews, good letter, good press,
and it's a great book. It's a really great book.
It is good. Here's something I do like. If you happen to be looking at previews, this would be great for people going from like podcast number 652 and they download this one and go, what are you talking about? I didn't save my previews from July 17. But one of the things that I wish they would do more of, and I'm glad Oni does this, they have a big thing there going, don't fret, Invader Zim will return next month.
Yes.
To let us know. There's so many times that I have looked, I have my notebook here, and I flip back and forth trying to figure out, okay, go back a couple months to see if there's anything I may have missed. For example, I think Space Goat had a book called Heroines Number 1. I appreciate that because that lets me know I'm not missing anything. So many times I've got I've got a notebook. I write down everything I'm going to get. I flip back and forth several months to make sure I'm not missing anything. I still end up missing things. And it just drives me crazy. If your book's not going to be monthly, when you solicit it, at least say bi-monthly. I mean, it's just a headache. Previews is not the best way to be soliciting your book, but
it's all we got.
It's the only thing we got.
If you are flipping through and you go to Titan Books, they also have a lot of movie tie-ins and TV tie-ins, and they've got all the Doctor Who stuff, and they've got Captain Kronos from Hammer Comics, so the Hammer stuff is starting to come out from them. But if you go to page 447, Joe,
okay,
these are all the paperback books they are putting out. You'll notice Star Trek's there.
I did.
They are distributing the Star Trek novels from now on. But the two that I want to point out are Cory's Climax and Turn on the Heat by Eric Stanley Garner. Eric Stanley Garner is the writer who created Perry Mason. And Turn on the Heat is one of the books he did under a different name. These are both from Hard Case Crime. They're the ones who do the crime novels, the noir novels. And Cory's Climax is another in the Cory series by Max Allan Collins, who's done comics and novels and comics and novels and back and forth. Cory is his character who's a kind of an assassin, and popular enough that there is a Cinemax TV series. They've done one season, and I believe they're doing a second season. The Cory novels are fantastic. If you want to start reading crime fiction, Cory's Climax is probably a great place to start, and of course Turn on the Heat with Eric Stanley Garner. Perry Mason, this is a more hard-boiled type novel. those are going to be really, really good starts for you. And then we go to Tomorrow's. And Tomorrow's, I pretty much buy whatever they put out. Sorry, I just do. Alter Ego's going to have one on Gil Kane. And out of the stuff they are reprinting in their Stars of the Month, the Swampman Muck Monsters and Their Makers.
Muck.
This is a series of interviews with people who worked on the swamp monsters that have been in comics since the 40s, including interviews with Steve Gerber, interviews with Alan Moore. It's a fantastic, fantastic book. And even if you think, wow, the swamp monsters, that's really kind of narrow, go ahead and pick it up. It's an amazing book filled with interviews. And then right next to it is Groovy When Flower Power Bloomed in Pop Culture. I've talked in the past about how I look at the Tomorrow's books and I go, I'm not going to be all that interested in it. And then like a year or so later when it's on sale, I pick it up and I go, oh, wow, this is cool. I'm looking at this going, I'm not all that interested in it. But I'm going to buy it anyway because it's a Tomorrow's book and I know that I'll like it a lot. And I want to point out, Joe, page 459. Could you please turn to page 459?
I was told there wasn't going to be math.
There isn't math. This is nostalgia. Bloodshot Solutions. Bloodshot Salvation. Number 1. Joe?
No, go with Solutions.
Do you see the box there?
Mm-hmm.
Could you please read what is in the silver box?
This is the brushed metal variant, a one-of-a-kind metal cover. This ultra-limited edition of Variant's blockbuster new ongoing series, a lot of adjectives there, comes printed via a special process on actual brushed metal sheet and features the artwork of Michael Suayan.
Well, I don't know.
So, we don't know. How much is that bad boy?
I have seen $500 to $1,000.
Ooh.
A brushed metal cover, Joe. No one's tried that. DC's going to be having a glow-in-the-dark cover next month.
Well, there was some book somewhere where it was like a $300 special variant. It had to have been Dynamite. Let me see if I can go find it. They're always doing stuff like that. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Sheena number 1, limited edition, jungle green variant by J. Scott Campbell for a mere $300. And, they're doing books like that all the time. They're like, we're going to have John Romita sign 5 copies of a book he did the character on but didn't do any art for. And, it's like they're trying to manufacture these collectibles. And, I got to admit, if I had a comic store, I'd probably think about getting it, if nothing else.
Oh, if I had a comic store, I would be on this like Oprah on a canned ham.
Canned ham. You've had yogurt before where they have yogurt and then the fruit on the bottom.
Yes, that's how it
actually
be.
Making ham that way, where you got mayonnaise on the top and the chunks of ham on the bottom. Oh God, drooling already.
Are you leaving that in the back window of your car for about a day or so?
Yes, that's how they make the special sauce at a fast food place we will not name.
That's the special botulism edition.
Now, we started off gabbing about Marvel. Is there anything from Marvel that you're getting on a regular basis?
Nothing I'm getting on a regular basis because it's all available on the app. I just buy the trades and the Omnibuy. One of the trades that really jumped out at me.
Is there an omnibus this month?
None that I'm interested in, I don't think. Yeah, it's a Deadpool omnibus.
Okay. You mean you don't want the Wildcats Absolute?
No, not really, no. But in the Marvel trade paperbacks, they're going to be reprinting the horror series. They're doing Tomb of Dracula, which is always a good idea. That always sells. Werewolf by Night. And a trade paperback that I can't wait to get my hands on, even though I have all the stories. Marvel Horror, which reprints a whole bunch of stuff from the Marvel black and white magazines in the 70s. One of the problems with those magazines is, one, they're hard to find, and two, there's a lot of reprints in them. So this is going to be pulling out the original stories. Nice big thick book, ought to be a fun read. And the way they...
Question I have, I know they did some essentials in Tomb of Dracula. Did they publish them all?
Yes. There are 4 essentials that have the whole run. There are 3 omnibuses that have the whole run. And I think they started trade paperbacks, but that was... it didn't do as well, and probably because they were really expensive for only, they were like $25 for, 200 and some pages. So these reprints are they're between a regular trade paperback and an epic trade. But I think it's good, they're going to start the runs in October. I think these, especially Tomb of Dracula, are ones that are going to be evergreens. If they just keep them in print.
The one I'm picking up, of course, the Avengers Volume 2, reprinting the Avenger run that Bendis did, which is cool because then I can take that and put it in my dollar bins. And believe me, they're all worth about good reading. One I may pick up, I haven't decided. I love the books where they do a theme like Thor versus Hulk. And they've got a reprint where it's for Avengers number 3, Submariner 65, Defenders 10, the Avengers Defender War, going all the way up into 2008. Anytime Hulk and Thor faced off. I will point out, if you have never read it, this is your chance. Jump on The Mighty Thor by Walt Simonson, Volume 1.
Yes.
One of the most fantastic runs of Thor ever done. And I know I have it. I should say my daughter has it. So I have the complete run. I actually found a run in my vast accumulation of crap. And it definitely highly recommended.
One other book that's coming out, I don't know if I'm going to highly recommend it, but I'm buying it. The Doctor Strange Epic Collection. It actually reprints the last batch of Doctor Strange's series from the 90s, which I vaguely remember reading. And I like the format for it. I wish it were an essential, but it's not going to be an essential. But it should be really interesting. I'm not going to say good. I like the J.M.D. Matias stories, and the David Quinn stories were just odd. But it's interesting to me that they're jumping to that for the Epic Collection rather than the stuff that we know and love from Ditko and even the Roger Stern stuff.
Well, this says Volume 13, so it makes me think
it is. The Epic Collection, they're basically, they know how many will be in each one, but they're not printing them in order.
Oh. Snots.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, are you collecting any Marvel comics?
No, I'm not buying any comics. Because
I'm down.
You just wait a few months and there they are, free.
I am down to 9. With Avengers that Mark Waid's doing on the, maybe I'll wait. Because a lot of the books I dropped when they came into the Secret Empire saga and they had the mandatory crossover. The ones I'm getting, Infamous Iron Man, I just enjoying the heck out of it. I kind of like the idea of the villains trying to decide, you know what, I think I've had enough. It's time to make amends. Although I've reread some of the Doctor Doom fights that they had, especially the one in, was it Bendis? Or where somebody accidentally releases the Carnage virus on New York, and then New York turns around, the Avengers defeat it, turn around, realize it came from Doctor Doom, attack Doctor Doom, and then they just go on a ballbuster fight, the ending of which, and if you want to throw up spoilers or go forward, the Sentry, who is still around, basically grabs Doom as he's busy casting a spell to get the Avengers off out of his castle, out of his country, dead or alive. Sentry basically just grabs him by the face and rips his mask right off. You know, and I'm like, whoa. And I remember, because the big thing was is that this leads to Doctor Doom. No, it was Bendis, because this leads to Doctor Doom being arrested. And then, you know, there's other little things like Spider-Woman shows off a power that nobody knew she had. Well, this all happens before, what was that great crossover, Cory?
Which one? Secret Invasion or Civil War?
Bingo. Nope. You said it right the first time. Because you answered a question for me. The whole Bendis run from New Avengers, Disassemble, all the way forward to the end is almost like these guys just sat down and said, okay, here's where we're going for 5 years. And every storyline kind of flows into the other one. It flows into Dark Avengers. It goes into Siege. And it's just amazing how well connected it was. And it's kind of, if you've been reading all the books together, you go back and you reread it and you realize, holy cow, man, there was a lot going on and it was really smooth. And in some ways it's kind of sad because they tried the same thing with Uncanny Avengers, which led to Secret Empire. And there just was a blowback to that I don't know if it was warranted or not.
I've said all along that it wasn't warranted, that this was built up. He's not a Nazi. They actually, in Hickman's S.H.I.E.L.D. series, they basically set up that Hydra has been around, and they just come along and absorb whatever, you know, bad juju's happening. You know, they were involved with the Egyptians, and then they were involved with the Romans, and then they've just kind of always been around. But my opinion anymore is people are just looking for a reason to get pissed.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, I mean, this whole backlash against diversity and Marvel re-backlashing and all this stuff, you know, I find it, you know, we want the comic industry to grow. We want it to be comfortable, but it's like you guys are just, and it's mostly either the social justice warriors or the old white farts like us that just, I can't believe it. Just be turning everybody into a girl. You're turning everybody into a different minority. You're turning this and that and the others. Yeah, I go to the library and I'm trying to pick up graphic novels, and I almost have to wait because there are the young black boys reading Cage. There are the girls reading Ms. Marvel of all races, and they're trying to get the guys to read, and the guys are like, no, I want to read Cage. I don't want to read Ms. Marvel. And I almost had to laugh. You know, and I've read all of them, and they're fantastic reads, but they're not necessarily for me. You don't like that Iron Man's a young black girl? Well, you know, that I've gone through so many changes in Marvel where Thor was a frog, and then Thor was not Thor. He was dead, so Thunderstrike was Thor. But then when they came back, Thunderstrike was Thunderstrike, Thor was Thor, and Loki was a girl, and Spider-Man was a superior Spider-Man and a clone, and blah, blah, blah. Do what I do. If you suddenly read something you don't like, and I love Michael Bendis' writing, but as soon as he made that change in Iron Man, I just stopped buying it. I didn't complain. I wasn't bitter. I didn't go on the internet and show how umbrage I was that they killed off Tony Stark, which they didn't, and they made her a minority black girl just by diversity's sake. No, don't buy it. Go buy something else. Go watch Defenders. Go out and get a breath of fresh air, for God's sakes. It's just, like you said, the bad mouthing it's killing me, and I'm just tired of it. And it really, maybe it's time for you to give up comics if every time you turn around something's pissing you off. Or maybe that's all you got in your life and you like doing it. So just ignore what I just said.
There are some people who just want a bellyache about the stuff they love. You know, I still, when Star Wars Episode 7 came out, you had the people who, it's terrible and I don't like it and it's this and it's that and it's... Well, I had fun. I was able to go, I knew why they did it the way they did, and it was fun. It was a fun story, and it was very well made. And that's all I wanted. I didn't want a religious experience.
And, you know, when you finally see Spider-Man, I'll talk about
Everybody is
things
saying that
I
this
would
is
be like,
Spider-Man as if it's made by John Hughes.
I'm not that familiar with John Hughes to that point, but
He did
what I did
Breakfast
find,
Club and 16 Candles and Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Well, I enjoyed it. And, of course, the litmus test for me is when I bring my wife along and she's able to enjoy it and not have like, well, who's this guy or where'd this guy come from? She said it was a fun movie. She could sit back. She didn't have any questions. She was able to follow what was going on and didn't feel like, oh, I got to watch 3 other movies before I have to watch this. And she did see Civil War. And, there were parts in Civil War where I had to stop and explain, okay, you remember Captain America? She didn't see the second one.
Oh, okay.
So she didn't understand why everybody was so verklempt about Bucky. And I was like, well, first of all, she didn't realize it was Bucky, or maybe she did. And I just kind of explained, this was the big thing in this movie. She did see Captain America, so she did remember him falling. And it's kind of like, well, he was picked up and turned into a big killer by the Russians. No, I'm sorry, Hydra. I don't know who did it anymore. Hail Hydra.
You know who doesn't worry about Hydra?
Hydrox?
No. These guys, our sponsors. That's right, here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Moore. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code KRAYZ, Krayz, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Krayz, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Krayz, put in the code CORYS 3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You could get them weekly. You could get them bi-weekly. You could get them monthly. You could just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that will record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. Subject advertising. Thanks. And normally when we come back from our sponsors, we throw to Joe, but I've got a little business to do, Joe.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll check out here. There must be some good porn I can download.
No, this is important.
Oh, so I definitely going to download some.
We have completed a survey of the employees here at Solitaire Rose Productions.
I didn't get the email.
Yeah, you did. You were sent the email. You just chose to ignore it. But all the people here who answered the survey, we've tabulated the results. We have some information here. We're going to go over what people like who work for us and what they don't. And people say that they're happy with there's got to be something here. They're very happy with the downsizing we did last year, and with the new hires.
And the place is clean. I got to tell you that.
And the new hires, such as Dave and Stephanie Cofell, who are going to talk about their podcast right here.
Traveling across the West, a fortnightly retelling of Dave and Stephanie.
Fortnightly?
That means every 2 weeks.
I know what it means. What if we wanted to do it more or less often than every 2 weeks?
Well, that wouldn't be holding down the fort, would it?
Oh, you're funny. Okay, how about frequently?
All right, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Scrabbling Across the West, a frequent retelling of Dave and Stephanie Cofell's adventures in traveling, making music, and playing Scrabble across the Western Hemisphere. It's all about the people, the places, and the game. Scrabbling Across the West. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And then there's the other new podcast we have, Bad Advice with Wolfie and Cory. A new episode this week. Joe, you're a special guest on the episode. Did you know that?
I was wondering. I thought I had some weird nightmares.
Yeah, so, people are excited about that. They're excited about the new hires. They like that we're back to being comic-focused. I mean, this is another episode where all we did was talk comics.
Oh, so we're not going to talk that Adam Hughes or Hugh Hefner passed away at 91?
Well, that was a fake story.
Oh, darn.
And they like the fact that our popularity is increasing. We are up 40% over where we were at this time last year, Joe.
Lure.
So thank you to all you new listeners and those of you who are listening. Please tell every single human being you've ever met in your life to listen to this show.
Yes.
And the other shows, but mostly this one. And they like the assortment of snacks that we provide.
Actually, that's Cory eats, and I'm on my own.
Oh, you eat snacks?
Nothing that you provided.
Well, no, because if I were to make or give you food, we wouldn't be friends anymore. On the downside, here's what the employees are upset about and how we're going to address it. Okay? So, first...
Hang on, I got a Q-tip in my ear. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, colleagues want more professional development opportunities, including support with career planning and guidance, mastering new challenges and people issues, so we're allowing them to create their own podcasts, just like we let Joe create, what's the name of your podcast, Joe?
Solo Joe.
And there are, 5 or 6, how many episodes? I don't pay attention.
I don't pay attention. When the muse hits me. I got to tell you, though, when I'm done dicking around my comic collection, I'll definitely have more time to actually make a podcast. That, and as one of my bitter freakings, that wonderful $100 Yeti microphone I bought years ago, still will not play with Windows 10. So I've got to invest in a microphone. You can hear mine every time I move. Whoops, went nuke on that one. So I need to get a better microphone. If you got any suggestions, just let me know.
So we will also be bringing on more guests. We're putting together one where we're going to have another podcast crossover. We may have a few crossovers, Joe. And we're going out into the world to record, like we did a couple weeks ago with Wolfie and everybody. So lots going on there.
Wolfie was there?
Yeah, Wolfie was there.
I just remember looking at Jules the whole time.
Well, that does not surprise me at all. But also, you can be a part of the show. We're doing an episode coming soon where we're going to talk about Jack Kirby. And we're going to have special guests on the show. We're going to have recordings. And if you want to be a part of the show, you can go ahead. You can send us an MP3 at Solitaire Rose Network at gmail.com. Or you can call our voice line. And here's the number right here. 952-856-0519. So that's another way that you can be part of the show. So that's how we're addressing professional development. Colleagues would like to see and hear more from executive leadership, including their vision for our company, decisions and expressions of interest in the colleagues' well-being. You know what my answer for that is, Joe? Yeah, tough shit.
That would be more like...
I am a mercurial and cruel despot. And if you people don't quit complaining, I will come and clean your apartments.
Oh, that's harsh.
The last thing is colleagues have mixed perception about our total rewards philosophy. Specifically, the competitiveness of our pay and benefits and pay for performance. So I am announcing right here, right now, that I have just doubled everyone's pay.
Oh, so now I can afford to take Maureen McCormick to the prom.
Joe, I have doubled your pay.
That's okay. I still get 10% of everything you make from a thing you signed a long time ago when I had Hot Comics St. Paul.
And I was drunk.
Yeah.
But
and
we also...
That is lucratively delivered me a grand total of...
I bought you a cheeseburger.
Do I have... Yeah, I was going to say, do meals count as total compensation package?
Yes.
Damn.
I bought you a cheeseburger. And I bought Stephanie tater tots.
Yes, and I think I still have them in the freezer. So with those two, we'll be making a comeback.
But I also will allow people to plug their own wares. Allow people to push what they do. Just like I allow Joe to push what he's doing on eBay right here.
That was a really bad segue. I too am on the cusp of change, and I need to know, Cory, how do you look for things on eBay?
I don't. I'm sorry. There for a while I was bottom feeding for Criterion DVDs, but now that I have Filmstruck and all the Criterion movies are available streaming, I don't really look out on eBay because I look around the house and I have enough stuff right now. I don't need more stuff. Sorry.
You're on the wrong podcast. Well, how would you look up stuff on eBay?
I would do a search. I would go to their search engine and put in what I'm looking for.
So the question becomes, having an eBay store, does that make any difference when you're looking to buy something?
For the most part, I just look at who's selling, what their feedback is, and what their price is. And if the price is low, I'm going to make sure that it's not, some cheap knockoff from, outer Buckistan. Although,
I'm at the
some
point,
of the DVDs from outer Buckistan play on my DVD player. So
yeah, you get an open-ended region. You can play anything. Because I'm at the point now, I've had this eBay store now for 2 years, and it's a unique address that you can go, and you can actually, I have everything there. It's in one spot, and it's all by different categories and things like that, and it's by... it shows what just arrived, it shows what's ending, but it's also like $60 a month. And if I am, in fact, going to blow out the comics at FallCon like I'm talking about, I'm not going to have, I got tons of stuff still, but I'm not going to have anything really to put in the store. And I'm questioning whether this store is actually of any use, whereas most of the time when I look for stuff on eBay, I just type in, I'm looking for Superman Family 203. And like you said, go through, look at the feedback, look at condition, look at the price point. A lot of times the lowest price point isn't necessarily the best condition, and so on and so on. Sometimes I'll go into Amazon if I don't see what I like there. So I would like to know from any of our listeners who have actually bought things from me on eBay, is the store of any interest to you? Because Cory, through the Solitaire Rose website, links to a list of all the stuff I have available. And right now it's 629 items and going higher. But I just don't know if a store is of any use. I mean, I can still post things the way I'm posting things. I just don't know if it's worth the extra money. And plus, if I blow everything out, the big thing, of course, with the stores, I got to lock in for a year. And if the big blowout's going to be in October, and I suddenly in November I don't have anything to put in the store, is it worth my money or not? So if you do have an opinion, just either contact us through the store or just send me a line direct, crazycomics@gmail.com, and let me know what you think. And, of course, I would be so grateful, I'll probably give you something off my vast accumulation of crap. It could. I can tell you this, though. It will not be the following items. Cory, you remember us talking about Lidsville, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And people at the comic shop did not believe it existed. I, of course, did believe it because of the star.
Yes.
Charles
Nelson Riley.
Hallowed be his
and
name.
I had
He's
a
still
Lidsville.
Our patron saint, or
he is.
Mascot, or what is he actually? For
I
us?
don't know. You don't want to mess with CNR.
Well, he is our leader.
But I did have a Lidsville #1. It was a Gold Key TV tie-in from 1972. Charles was not on the cover. If he was, it would still be in my grubby little hands. But
and it would be worth about 100 times more.
Oh, hell yeah. But what I did is I just sold it. So I sold that. We've talked in the past about the Fantastic Four books that were done in 1967 by Marvel and Lancer Books. I had a really beat-the-heck Fantastic Four Returns with Submariner paperback that some guy gave me a couple bucks for, which was cool. I don't know. I know Cory supports the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, but I don't know. Did you pick up the Liberty trading cards when they came out?
How long ago was it?
2011.
No, I did not.
Yeah, what was fun about it was they actually had different creators sign cards, and those are kind of the chase cards that you could go after. And I supported this Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. I bought a box. I finally uncovered it. I sold it. I sold a Rocket Girl #1 Comics World exclusive black and white Bill Tushy variant cover. Phew. So that went, and of course Cory I know was a rabid fan of VIP, the Pamela Anderson 2000 TV show.
Nah, more a Stripperella fan.
Now you're talking. But it was, it was part of the photo covers that I used to collect in. This was a DF exclusive gold foil cover. Sold mine for $10. In the meantime, they allegedly have gone up to $40. So I'm like, whatever. I'm happy with what I got for it. Which brings me to the final book I'll talk about, and this is one that I had an extensive conversation with my old partner, Pat Gruber. Cory, tell us, you remember Power Girl? We
Yes.
talked about her. The series that started 2009, it went from JSA Classified into her own book.
Yes. And it was drawn by Amanda Palmer, I believe, right?
Let me take a look here on, because she did some, and let's see, I'm going to my favorite search engine of name, the atomicavenue.com, and this is under the Power Girl 3rd series, of course, and yep, she did the art through issue 11.
Yes. And
Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray wrote it. And after that, the art was done by Sammy Barsri, and Judd Widnick wrote it all the way to the end. And there were a few other issues there. But what was interesting, though, is the price on some of these. Because for the most part, what's very valuable are the variants. There was issue 1 had variant cover A was done by Amanda Connor, which you can find. It's not that tough. Variant cover B was done by Adam Hughes. He did a number of them. Just silly money out there. I have a #1 up there. I have it cheap, but some of the other ones that I went. I mean, like for example, I sold the #2 Power Girl Adam Hughes for $30, and it guides at about $40. The variant cover B guides at like $70, although I have mine I think for $17 because there's a lot of people there. I was talking with Pat about this, and he was aghast because I don't know, he must have bought a lot of these variant covers, and he was like, I couldn't give them away. Variant cover for #6, which was by Gilliam March, $200. But you know, the real shocker was the price on the final issue. Now, most of the issues of Power Girl are cheap, 80 cents to $1. There's a few weird ones, like I can't figure out why #20 is like a $15 book. Might have that it was a preview of DC Universe Online Legends. I'm not sure. But the last issue, it's like a $70 back issue. And I sold mine for like $60. I mean, guy offered, I'm like, fine. The only thing I can think of, if you remember that time, we're talking 2011, they had already announced Rebirth. And Power Girl was not part of it, which was really too bad because it was selling very well. And I think by the time the last issue came, Judge Winnick was off it, and they just, like, blopped out 26, which, by the way, has a rare appearance of Jared from Subway fame, if you want it. It was that insert, you know, where they had the Justice League number 4 goes to Subway or whatever. Number 27, though, I think by the time it came out, it was just the old story where nobody was buying it. Comic retailers weren't carrying it because everybody was gearing up for, I think, Final Crisis and the Rebirth and whatever. Oh, there you go. If you've got yourself a Power Girl number 27, go find it out of your moldy gray bins and put that in some type of protective covering because it's actually, or put it on eBay. You'll probably get some decent money for it. So those are your collecting tips of the day. Oh, by the way, if you got Earthworm Jim comics from Marvel 1995, good ones. You don't want to, did you see that video going around with a guy opening a comic box and carpenter ants were all over it?
No, I did not.
Oh, I'll forward it to you. Oh, stomach churning. Just crazy. I bet you he wishes he covered up his Power Girl 27. To store or not to store, regardless, I'll still be on eBay under Krayz, Krayz, and of course, you here listen to this here podcast. We thank you. And if you do find something you are interested in, let me know. I'll probably cut you a deal, maybe give you free shipping. Maybe I'll not only give you a key and an exclusive, much sought-after key to the Strode compound, which is in dire need of cleaning, but I'll give you, I don't know, maybe I'll give you this. Sergio Argonis destroys the DC Universe. I just reached over and grabbed that off my pile of stuff. Oh, sorry, crap.
And if you do come to my house, I do have chili. Well, Joe, now it's time for my favorite part of the show. No, not the part where I beat up Puny Parker for Aunt May's wheat cakes.
We are here to pump you up.
Oh, the new Aunt May. Never thought I'd say Aunt May's body. No, it's freaking and geeking, Joe. What are you freaking on?
I can't tell it, but I am fighting a cold. I got that tickle in the back of the throat. Not sure where I got it from. I'm sticking pins in voodoo dolls, so if you suddenly feel a pin, I probably caught it from you. No, I'm probably right behind you poking with it, so that's always a bummer, because, you know, you fight it, and then, of course, when you go to bed, I'll wake up tomorrow and go, The other thing I'm sort of freaking on, and, of course, one of these days, like, what I love listening to old podcasts is like, really? That's what I was freaking on? And this is one of those things where, you know, a couple months from now I may not be freaking at all, but I'm looking at the bid lines that they're working on for me at my job, and they're going to take away my weekend again. They just decided, nope, too many people off on weekends, going to have to screw the pooch and take them away from you. I'm like, really? I'm not as mad as some of the people. There's some people higher up seniority that like had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, totally eliminated that one. Or at the Terminal 2, the smaller terminal, they took away all the Friday, Saturday, Sundays. You know, I got Friday, Saturday. So the guys who had that are pretty upset. It's just sad. You know, they just screw around. And for me, I'm actually enjoying having weekends off. I mean, I get to spend a day with my family. I get to go to the different cons that are coming around. But change, it's a-coming. And the worst part is that you don't know. I won't know until the end of the month because we don't bid till like end of August for a shift that starts the end of September. And, of course, for me, I'm busting my ass trying to get ready for FallCon. Well, maybe I won't be able to get that weekend off. Right now I've got it off, and if they kept the schedules the same, I know I probably could have gotten the weekend off. You know, it's sad after 15 years I still can't get a weekend off. And what's going to be interesting now is because one of the things with federal employees, when you've been there over 15 years, you start out, you get like 4 hours every pay period being 2 weeks. After 5 years, you get 6 hours. Well, after 15 years, which I'm about to go over, you get 8 hours. And there's a lot of people that are going to be crossing that threshold, and there's just not a lot of time that people, you try to take time off, and you can't get it because they have too many employees with too much time trying to take time off. And, of course, with the Super Bowl coming next year, so again, and like I said, we may be getting into, who knows, maybe that show right after August 22nd, I'll be going, remember that freaking I did way back the week of What show number is this, Cory?
211, 311.
Remember the show 311? Just erase that freaking because it's not like geeking. Or it may be worse. Cory, I don't think I need any chili, but what are you freaking on?
Sam Glansman, who a lot of the listeners will not know, passed away this week. He was in his 90s, so he had a very long life. But he is best known for doing war comics. He did a lot of stuff at Dell. He did war comics at DC, but he's mostly known for the Private War of Willie Schultz, which he actually did for, as we talked about earlier in this episode, he did for Carlton. He also did some...
I had what's the company?
ACG.
Yeah,
American Comics Group.
I do have some of the reprints they did on my eBay site. And one of them actually went down in price because as I was moving it, I got a blotch of water on it, so I just lowered the price.
He probably one of the best-known artists for war comics, other than like Joe Kubert or... I really can't think of anybody else who's best known for their war comics. He worked a lot with Tim Truman, who loved Tim Truman's art. Tim Truman is a friend of the MCBA way back in the day. And we're losing our Silver Age artists the same way that we lost the Golden Age artists. A lot of them are... We keep forgetting, at least I do, that the... Silver Age was 50, 60 years ago, and guys who were working in the field in their 30s and 40s, not with us much longer. A lot of people in the Bronze Age are hitting their 60s and 70s, which is kind of weird for me to think about. And really, I don't have a lot more I'm freaking on because last night I got a decent amount of sleep. Although I do have a hanging at the home.
Do we have music for that?
No, we don't.
We should talk to Dave, see if he can whip up something for that.
He can, but it will cost a lot of money.
Well, maybe I should ask my nephew. Because he's actually got a show coming up in next week where he's playing at the Garage out in Eagan. First time ever his young band is playing. So that should be kind of fun.
But Joe, at 4 in the morning last Saturday night...
It came without a warning.
Friday night, Saturday morning... At 4 a.m., we had a fire drill.
Brilliant.
Because we have to have, we have to have a certain number of fire drills. We have to have them in certain periods. We have to have at least 3 fire drills during the overnight. And this was one where everybody had to go outside. Well, one of the clients we have is on hospice. She can't walk. She can't even stand up anymore. To get her out of her bed safely, we have to use a device called a Hoyer lift, which is you have to put a sling under her and then raise her up and put her in the wheelchair. And that takes a good 10 to 15 minutes to do, safely and properly. Well, this is a fire drill where they time you, and you have to get everybody out of the house within a certain amount of time. So we get... The fire alarm goes off, we get people up. One of the clients starts grabbing her things because, if there's a fire, I need to save my crayons, and I need to save my watches, and I need to save this. No, you need to get going. I need to save my pants and my shirt. No, we have to get going. So in helping them out, and we get to the one who's on hospice care, and we can either take the 15 minutes to put her in the Hoyer lift safely, or... Joe, she's in a hospital bed. We unplug the hospital bed, we put all the cords, and we push the bed outside. 3.5 minutes, we got everybody outside.
Suddenly I'm seeing a Charlie Chaplin movie.
Now, one of the other cottages has to do theirs again tonight because one of the clients, when the fire alarm went off, she got up and went into the bathroom. And they got everybody outside and forgot that she was in the bathroom. So the other cottage had one of their clients, quote, die, unquote, in the fire. We didn't have anybody die. But, I had to wake up 4 in the morning, get everybody up. And, everybody was up at 4:30, and they decided, I'm already up. Might as well stay up. So last Friday night, Saturday morning, I only got like about 4 hours of sleep. That's why I didn't go see Spider-Man. Geeking, Joe, what are you geeking on?
Well, because Cory failed on me, I decided to go visit a comic store.
A what?
A comic store.
What are they?
They pop up all over the place, and I've been trying to get you to do something, but no, you'd rather go have pie with Sharon. Come to think of it, I think I'd rather go have pie with Sharon.
We had pizza.
That's pie.
We had pizza pie. By the way, we are going to go do something next week.
Cool.
I have days off.
There's a place down in South St. Paul, and I have no idea how long they've been around, but they're a comic store, game store called Level Up Games. And I went down there just to visit. It's kind of interesting because they're open 10 to 10 every day. Let's see if I got an address. 207 13th Avenue, South St. Paul, Minnesota, 55075. LevelUpGamesMN.com. That's for Minnesota. And, of course, they have a Facebook page. Beautiful shop. Very well organized. It'll be interesting because we'll get Cory's opinion of it next week. But it's I really like the layout they had. I didn't buy anything. I did buy a Dad's root beer just because I was really thirsty at the time. They have a lot of clearance comics, which was kind of fun. You know, and the thing with newer shops like this, not a tremendous amount of older back issues, although every so often you find something surprise me. They do have double layers of graphic novels, which is discerning because, you know, you look through the spines and then you realize, oh, there's a bunch behind there that I have to remove a bunch to see, which is a little annoying. And same thing goes for their clearance books. They also have big bundles of clearance graphic novels and kind of interesting ideas. I mean, these are the type of things that if I was still in business, I'd be like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to steal that one. One half of the shop was gaming, and I was there and on a Saturday, and there were just tons of people gaming. You know, I opened a game room briefly in Hot Comics, and I got to say it really didn't draw in a lot of traffic. I mean, I had a core group of people that liked to come and play, but what I found is they didn't really buy stuff from me. They would like, oh, man, Shinder's got cards, and they'd all disappear, go to Shinder's, buy cards, and then come back to my shop to play. And eventually the final core was that some kid came in to play, and these guys had their own little groups they were playing, and for 2 hours the kids sat and waited to play, and eventually his mom came and left, and I said, you know what, this isn't any fun anymore. So I shut her down. One guy out of all the people that would play in my store came back once and said, you're not doing the games anymore. I said, nope, just not worth it. So he bought some stuff left, but not at Level Up Games. They got a lot of people, a lot of fun. I couldn't tell the staff from the people, although that didn't stop me from enjoying looking around. And yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait to bring you down to Cory to see what you think. And they've got lots of things going on their Facebook page, and always listing something on their website. So check them out. I didn't get if I'd noticed somebody, I probably would have given them our card, say, hey, I'm going to review you on our podcast, but we're just doing it secretly. I went to Toys R Us and got a comic book from Toys R Us. They have one exclusive if you buy $25 worth of Spider-Man stuff, and apparently there's a movie on, which is why they're pushing it. You can get this comic, Spider-Man Homecoming. And I lucked out because apparently I only got like $20 worth of stuff, but then she sold it to me for a penny anyways. And of course, as I'm wont to do, I come home and I look at eBay. It's like, hey, people are selling theirs for $25. Cool. So I don't know if I'll read it first. Part of the thing I'm doing is a lot of the stuff from the old charity booth that we do once a year, I will put on the eBays, and as it sells, I take that money and I turn around and buy some other fun things that can go to the charity booth. It's really prevalent right after Christmas because you get places like Target that just go crazy liquidating stuff. But I was wandering around, found some stuff from Toys R Us. I did find some things from Target, and I think I've cracked their discount code so that I know when they are going to drop their prices again, because I found these really cool Avenger plastics sets. They were like $50, 12-inch figures of the Avengers, and one week they were $25, and then I came in this week and they were like $15. I was like, I'll pick up a couple nice ones and use it for the charity booth, which again, we'll be talking more and more as we get closer to the con next year. But again, if you're cleaning out stuff and you're not quite sure what to do with it and you don't like what Half Price gives you, get in contact with me, especially if you're in the Twin Cities area. We'll figure out a way to get that stuff and you can take a tax write-off for it. Because Lord knows we're only half a year away from tax season again. The Minnesota State Fair is coming up, and my goal is to take, what was those presidential comics? Who did those?
Blue Water.
Yes. I have an Al Franken one, and I want to try to get Al Franken to autograph it because he has a new book that just came out. I haven't picked it up yet, and people are looking at it thinking, this might be the precursor to a presidential run for him. He might be too liberal. I don't know, but when you listen to the guy talk, if you're against him, be afraid. Be very afraid because he knows his stuff. And I think it'd be a kick to get an autograph from him before he's president, because Lord knows you ain't getting Obama to autograph nothing, assuming you can find him. As far as reading things, a couple issues I'll just click on. Like I said, as I'm going through my accumulation of crud, every so often I got to stop and read something. And I've read there was the Mighty Thor that had a run in the early issues, I think 1 through 6, where Galactus came on the moon because he wanted to get a hold of the seed from the world tree, because that would end his hunger, and much fighting and much misunderstanding ensued. I found Sergio Argoni's Destroys DC.
Which you almost gave away.
And, I probably will anyways, but I just figured this is just something I'll read before I get rid of it, and it's got more jokes in it per square inch than ought to be allowed in a comic book. Which is fun because I just also uncovered Sergio Argoni's Massacres Marvel. So I got twosome going on here. Oh my. I read Spectacular Spider-Man number 21 back when Paul Jenkins was writing it and Talent Caldwell was penciling it. Apparently Peter Parker had just aka Spectacular Spider-Man, had just recovered from a dramatic transportation at the hands of the Queen, I guess, Anna Sora, whatever, turned Peter into an actual spider. I could see that would kind of screw up your day. So they decide, the heroes, once they get him back, decide, let's have a game of poker. And what was fun in this particular one, if you don't mind me ruining a story from 2005, is Kingpin crashed the party because he wanted to play too. And while these guys were playing for $20, he brought in $1 million and gave everybody $50,000 and said, "Let's play." So, Cory, if the book's Amazing Spectacular Spider-Man, who do you think won? Well, I'll give you one hint. It wasn't Dr.
I vaguely
Strange.
remember this story.
Well, okay, let me. I don't mean so obvious. The book is called The Spectacular...
Well, yeah, Spider-Man, but Spider-Man, his whole thing is that he's
Spider-Man just
loses.
No, you're thinking Ditko era. Well, this is the Paul Jenkins era. Get with it.
So he won.
He did, which was actually kind of funny, much to Kingpin's chagrin. But it was kind of funny because as I'm watching this, it kind of reminded me, this almost looked like Nick trying to weasel in on a poker game. So that was fun. A little bit forward after Spider-Man Unmasked, Sensational Spider-Man number 28, and I believe who's writing this at the time? Roberto Aguirre Sacasa with Clayton Craig as the artist. This is the one where Dr. Octopus freaks out discovering, I fought a 15-year-old? A 15-year-old? I had him in my hands. I could have snapped his neck, and I let him go? And just one of those issues that I'll always remember because it was just so crazy that, Dr. Octopus comes out of hiding and, of course, he's defeated. And then I am reading the current run, or later Spider-Man, where Dr. Octopus, from being beat up all these years, is now a shell of a man. That leads directly into Superior Spider-Man. So that was a lot of fun. And there was one other one I read. It was during the Civil War crossover. In Civil War, we see Hercules basically take care of Klor, the clone to Thor. Mm-hmm. And this is one... Was it a She-Hulk book? Where basically She-Hulk and Invisible Woman were fighting, or was it Miss Marvel? I don't remember. But the thing was is that they were getting ready and they had knocked Klor down, and no, it was Miss Marvel. Come to think of it, and as Klor was getting up, all of a sudden Hercules comes. Excuse me, ladies, I will cut in. And then these two watch. Oh. It was Ms. Marvel and Storm that were doing it. And they were watching off panel as Thor is fighting, or Hercules is fighting Klor, and of course they're commenting, that's really Hercules? Ooh, that's gotta hurt. Wow, look at that. Yeah, he did it. Just kind of a fun little thing, which was one of the reasons I think when these crossovers used to come around, I used to go crazy and pick up all the extra issues, because they add things to the story. Although if you just stick with the regular main stuff, you're not really missing out on that much. In terms of big old graphic novels I read, I was gabbing early about Avengers by Brian Michael Bendis. Well, it took me one day and I went through New Avengers 5. This is Brian Michael Bendis' complete collection. And this kind of wraps up the New Avengers run. And it was a good story. And of course, they're going back to Mighty Avengers, which also kind of takes place during the same time. And let's see, what do they reprint here? A little bit from Amazing Spider-Man 601. Breaking into Comics the Marvel Way 1. For the most part, Free Comic Book Day, number 209. New Avengers, 55 to 64. Dark Reign, The List. And the Annual. So that's fun reading. Another one that I went through, I've talked in the past about The Devil's Panties. No, not what you think about. This is actually a web strip by Jeannie Breeden, and just talks about a feminist comic fan. I don't know if she's in the comic, I think she's a creator. And she in the first volume of her collections, I think there's 9 to date. See, Cory, there's hope for you in worldwide news. She's got 9. But she finally gets a job at a comic store. And it's a cute little story. She talks about how it started out. This was kind of an autobiography type strip, but the main character, has taken on a world of her own. The devils are basically, anytime there's a decision to be made, there's a little devil on one side, an angel on the other. Jesus makes a few appearances here and there. And the strip is going on. If you go to thedevilspanties.com, you'll see not only the current one, but all the archived ones. It talks about which convention she's going to, and the store is there, so you can buy all the graphic novels if you want. Highly recommended, a lot of fun. And I'm sure in a future Geeking, I will be talking about how cool Volume 2 was, because I haven't ordered it yet, but I will work on it. Oddly enough, no TV other than Spider-Man, which I highly recommend seeing. And your homework, dear listeners, is to listen to it. Go see the movie so that when Cory and I finally talk about it in a couple podcasts from now, you can join in the fun, and you don't have to skip over it until, like with Richard Hatch, his book he did before he passed away, talked all about the new Battlestar Galactica, and I couldn't read the book until I actually saw it. And then after watching a couple episodes, I was like, damn, this is depressing. I'm just going to read the book anyways. So, never mind what I just said for the last 10 minutes. It doesn't make any sense. Cory, what are you geeking on?
First thing I'm geeking on is there is a new movie on Netflix that I did watch. one of my favorite movies, which I watch every couple of years, is Death Race 2000. Joe, you ever seen the Death Race 2000?
Oh, man, like on afternoon television, highly edited?
No, I mean unedited.
No,
where it's a cross-country race, and you get points for how fast you go and running over pedestrians.
Yeah. Nope.
And it's a political satire, believe it or not, a political satire. Directed by Paul Bartels, who later went on to do the amazing movie Eating Raoul. And it's...
How do you feel about that? Good night, everybody.
And financed by Roger Corman. Corman, the big company came and bought up the rights to Death Race and made some big money Death Race movies. And Corman was like, you left out the political satire, you left out the points for killing pedestrians, you left out everything.
The fun stuff.
Just a car race movie. So he has the rights back, and
much better than Cannonball Run.
He did a new version, Death Race 2050. Not really a remake, not really a continuation, just a new version of it. And it's on Netflix, and boy, is it a lot of fun. Not as good as the original, but it can't be, because you had people in the 70s who were just hungry to do this sort of thing, and this is more, okay, we get to have fun. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. The Marvel Horror trade paperback in previews. This is stuff that I am shocked that Marvel is reprinting. I never, in my wildest dreams, thought they would reprint this stuff. The only other stuff that I don't think they'll ever reprint is the original short horror stories that they did in comics when, like, Fear and Where Monsters Dwell. The first few issues of those had original stories. They've reprinted the one by Steranko a bajillion times, but the ones by, like Gene Colan and John Buscema, they haven't reprinted those. But the Marvel black and white stuff, it's really beautifully drawn. The stories are very 70s, very overwordy. But still, I'm very excited about that. Speaking of Marvel's 70s mags, I have been... Dark Horse is reprinting Savage Sword of Conan in trade paperbacks. And in an episode of Solitaire Rose Radio that's out later this week, myself and Patrick McAvoy talk Kirby inkers, but we also talk about the art of inking, and we use John Buscema as kind of this is how different inkers approach art. And I've been reading those Savage Swords of Conan, especially the real early ones, and you could tell that Buscema loved what he was doing, and the inkers adored his work. It's just some beautiful black and white artwork. You've got American inkers who are putting forth their best effort. You've got some Filipino inkers who worship Buscema's work, and you've got some Spanish artists who do some inking on it as well. It's just amazing. But there's also some Barry Windsor Smith in there, and just those early issues of Savage Sword of Conan are a joy to read. They're just beautifully done. Roy Thomas, you can tell that Roy Thomas is highly invested in it. And there's a reason why Savage Sword of Conan lasted over 225 issues. And those early issues were probably Marvel's best black and white work. And then the last thing I'm geeking on, Joe, are you reading the Archie comic by Mark Waid? Hello?
Of course.
Okay. Are you reading the 3-part kart race story?
I'm still about 3 issues behind, but I am aware of it.
The second issue came out, and it is probably the best issue of the new Archie run. It's very touching, very well written, beautifully drawn. I'm not going to spoil anything about it, but in the first part, Reggie challenges Archie to a race. Basically, he just keeps poking at him till Archie says, all right, I'll drag race you. And they start a drag race. Betty finds out about it and is racing her own car to try and stop it. And someone is in an accident at the end of the second issue, at the end of the first issue. And then in the second issue, it's the ramifications of that accident. And one of the things about the Archie comics is that Reggie always comes off as kind of a one-dimensional character. He just kind of is there to be a pain in Archie's ass. This issue gives Reggie character. It doesn't explain why he does what he does, but it shows him in a very different light. And as I'm reading it, I'm just marveling at how beautifully Wade has taken the story to kind of take apart each character in a single page and show you what's important to them, where they are in the story, and how they all fit together, and why this is one of the longest-running ensemble comics in history. You know, the Archie characters have been around since 1941, 42, and Mark Waid has figured out how to make them relevant and interesting in the modern era without breaking them. So very, very thrilled by this story. It's just... Mark Waid can do no wrong at this point. I have yet to read anything by him that I haven't just loved over the last, 5-6 years. He's firing on all cylinders. So, highly recommended, fun stuff. And the last thing I am geeking on, Joe, when this episode drops on Monday...
Ouch!
Monday and Tuesday I work, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm off. I will only be doing sleep shifts.
I am convinced that your job monitors this here podcast, because they always seem to know when you're off.
I actually sat down with my supervisor at the full-time job and said that I would not be working Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. She'd approved it a while back, but wanted to remind her. And she, at the full-time job, I'm in charge of these certain clients. And she said, well, do you have everything covered? And I explained how it's all covered. She had this look on her face because we've had 3 major things blow up this week. That she was in a meeting, and when she came back, it's like, oh, you've already communicated everything to the team. Yeah. Well, how did you know about this? I did this. Well, how did you know about that? I did this. Where did we get this information? The client didn't give it to us. I got it from here, here, and here. It's like, oh, you have it under control. And was able to go off on her own stuff. So she looked at me today like I told her I was going to smack her dog around. So I gave her my cell phone number and my email address, and I said, now, you can call me, but I will not be coming in. And the other thing is, because people are concerned that I'm working too much, and I do hear and agree that. Next month, Joe, I am taking a weekend completely, totally, and utterly off. I won't even be doing sleep shifts at the group home. I'm going to get in my car and go somewhere, and this week I decided where I'm going.
That
I
is?
need some help from you as to, what to do there and stuff. The Itasca State Park.
Ooh.
I decided not to go to Duluth. I decided not to go to Wisconsin Dells. I'm going to go to the Itasca State Park. And there's only one thing I know I want to do there, and everything else I'll be asking you, what's around there, because I don't know this state. But I want to be able to walk across the Mississippi River.
Oh, that is kind of cool. Be up the headwaters there. And you could do what I did one year, drive the river road, which means you'll go... depending on the time you have a lot, you just follow the little green signs as they weave you through small-town Minnesota, and you go along different places, like Bemidji. You'll actually cross some different places of the Mississippi River. You'll be like, oh, cool, look how small it is. And then eventually you wind up in Itasca. But
that's what I'm going to do. I actually looked into cabins. The state park there, you can rent cabins.
And that is the most popular state park in Minnesota, so rent them now.
All the cabins are rented.
I was going to say Park Rapids is nearby, and we could talk offline, because that might be a good secondary place to go.
I just will need a hotel room. By the way, that's also the weekend for SummerSlam, so I'll need Wi-Fi.
No, you won't. You've got WWE Network, so you can watch it when you get home. Matter of fact, I'm watching going to watch the last Sunday's pay-per-view, or at least the highlights of it, when we're done podcasting here.
Well, there you go. Believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about comics for 2 hours.
We love you.
And we really kind of came into this with, I don't know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, I thought we'd talk about Spider-Man, but Cory didn't want us, and then he fell asleep, and we had to stop and start over, and, Massive
Then I had to go
failure.
clean somebody's apartment.
Yeah,
Now they don't talk to me
another
anymore.
woman not talking to Cory. I'm telling you.
But I got chili.
And I should have taken some because I'm going to a Comic-Con tomorrow, and you know how I feel when I see people narrowing in on the books I want to look at.
And as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Time to ask the Strode. Cory, are you ready?
I thought we were done.
Nope. It comes at you from any time, anywhere.
Okay.
Cory, why does Aquaman live in salt water?
I don't know, Joe. Why does Aquaman live in salt water?
Because pepper water makes him sneeze. Hit my music.